Today's lessons is all about knots. So first off, we're going to put the halter on and tie our knot properly. So I like to have my halter prepared, ready for when I catch my horse. So Donnie here, he's a pretty good old gent. He'll probably put his nose in the halter for us. First off, I'm going to be able to put my arm around my horse's neck. My halter is on my hand like this. I just run it underneath. Now I've got a loop around his neck. I'll take the nose band of that halter, and like I said, Donnie will help us out here. So I get it fairly snug up on his nose, and I bring it over the top, through the loop, then I draw it up a little bit. I'll just stick my finger in there like that and hold it with my thumb so that my halter doesn't loosen. Then I just take and tuck the end of it back through towards his eye, and then take the end and bring it back through where my thumb is. And it's tied. That's the proper way to tie it. A lot of times I see this knot or this halter put on and they tie their knot above this little loop, and that's what I call a jackknife knot. Excuse my English. So that doesn't, if you tighten that up, it's going to stay really tight for a while. So just to tie it properly, take the end of your rope, tuck it back underneath towards his eye, and then run the end of this line back through that little loop, and you got your knot tied. Okay, here we have a tie rail. It's approximately 42 inches to 4 feet tall. The first knot I'm going to tie is the one that most people use, or a fashion of it. So I'm going to throw my lead rope over around this rail so that I have a loop around one loop around the rail like that. I'm going to look for about 2.5 feet of rope, no longer than that. And this knot is pretty easy. I'll just take my line like this. My left hand, I'm going to just flip it over so you can see the back of my hand. The other side, I'm going to make a bigger loop here and tuck it through where my hand was. The important part here is that I draw this up snug. Now to safety that, all I'm going to do is just make a little half hitch here and draw my big loop here up through that and tighten it. Can we do that again? I'll make a little loop like that, draw this through so that I safety it like that. The other way to safety this knot, if you don't like to use a half hitch, is just to make a macrame knot out of it. There, that'll keep the horse from, a lot of these horses, they like to chew on the rope, and if it's just tied and there's no safety to it, he'll actually be able to untie himself. Okay, so that's the first knot I tie. Again, we're going to have about 2.5 feet of rope. I'll make a loop around my tie rail. Get a hand on each side, palms up. My left hand, I'm just going to turn it over. I'm going to make a big loop here and tuck it through where my hand was. I'll make sure I tighten this and tighten this. Two ways to safety it. I can make a half hitch and put it through there. Okay? Or a lot of people like to use a macrame, what we call a macrame knot, and that's just bringing it through a couple of times. Both are acceptable. Okay, so that's the first knot I'm going to tie. The next knot that I'm going to tie doesn't work very well on this square tubing. What it does work well on is if you got a little loop underneath here, it works really well for that. It works good for tying to a trailer where you've got just a loop to tie to, or 2-inch piece pipe or smaller. So I'm just going to take this, again 2.5 feet, I'm going to run it through there like that so that I end up with a loop here. The end of my rope is in the middle. I'm just going to go around my loop like that. Again, I'm going to run my hand back underneath the lead rope, make a big loop here, and stick it through that little loop. The key to this is to tighten it from both ends. Okay, again, my safety is going to be either a macrame like that, or just double it, or just make a half hitch like this and stick that loop through there and draw it up tight. I like this knot because it's easy to untie, and when you pull it, you're done, you're finished. So there again, about 2.5 feet, make a loop, go through your tie, make a little circle around your little loop there, again underneath, make a big loop, stick it through the little loop. There again, the important thing here is you tighten it from both ends. Again, you're going to safety it by a half hitch like that, or a macrame knot.